Hi there and welcome back to Finding My Online Biz. It's Keith A here. Today we're going to work through how to create a short intro for your videos. The idea is just to give you a bit of how to do it and so that you can come up with your own intros for your own projects. So let's get right into it. What we need to do first, guys, is we need to create some assets. So the very first thing we want to do is create the various assets for this particular project. Now, what I want to show you here is this. You can see here on this front end for Kinemaster that there are several assets here. The Finding My Online Biz with the colored background. Now, what I want to happen is for that colored background to move. So it's got the text, but it's got a moving texture behind it. That's really what I'm trying to achieve. And the rest of it, I'll show you how to do that as we move along. So let's start with the beginning. Let's start with, I'm going to use a tool called Doodle Pro, and this will be the final result. This is what I want to achieve at the end of this exercise. What I want to have is a transparent fill with a white stroke around it. Then I want it to be on top of a black background. So to do that, I'm just going to clear this now, like so. So we can start with a plain background. Now, what I would like to do is I'd like to make sure that this background is a transparency. So here I click on layers here, just here, try that again, there we go, layers. And I'm going to change the background and I'm going to make the background a transparency. See how it says transparency there in the bottom with the checkerboard? I'm going to select that. That's now a transparency. Boom. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some text, and in our instance, of course, Finding My Online Biz, I'm going to add that in as my text. That you see I've already got it there just to save some time. And the font I'm using is called Impact. The size is 60, the opacity is 1. Now you'll notice that I've got an outline here, I'll just show you here, with the yellow around it. So it could be black here, but in this instance I want it to be white. And I want that to be my online biz on one line because that's how I like it. Now that might be hard to see, but you'll get the idea in a moment. So once I've done that, I need to do two more things. I need to fill the background as black, like so. So I select the fill color, black. Then I simply tap, boom. Then I simply go open this up a little bit by using the pinch, and I then select to fill the bits that are problematic, like my D here, my G here, my O here again, and my E here, and my B. Now, one of the things that does happen if you do tap too many times is that the lines between your eyes, particularly your dots on your eyes, disappear. In fact, my G's a little bit too big. I'm just going to go back a few spots. I'm just going to fix that G. I'll just make that a bit bigger so I can see. That's better. I'm going to do the same here. I'm using a Apple Pen on my iPad Pro just to make my life a little bit easier. If you're using an Android device, you can use a stylus and that will work as well. And this tool is also available on Android. Let me just go back like so. All I need to do now is just save as. Now if you save as a PNG, then the transparencies will be clear. All right, and you'll see why that's important in a moment. That is asset number 1 created. So if I go back into my photos, you'll see now here, asset number 1 has been created. We'll go and we'll test that in a minute. That's creating the artwork for the text. Done. Okay, so next up we want to create that other background, which is all nice and colourful. As you can see here, I'm just doing a quick run through here, and this is what I did. I just recorded it whilst I was creating the image, and I've just made it nice and colourful, tried to make it all the colours of the rainbow, and then I wanted to put some lines on it to give it some contrast. So that was the whole point of the lines in the exercise, and then I put some strokes down in it to make it look a little bit like sort of a comic-like brickwork type of idea. So that's what I was going for, to give it a nice bright colour with a comic-y looking feel about the actual image itself. Now the image isn't overly important, other than you do want to make it bright. Next step is, now we've created the two bits of our two assets, our outline for our text and with the background. Now it's a matter of putting those things together and to make it a motion background or a motion text graphic. So how we do that is, you see I've pulled in the first image into Kinemaster, and I've put it on a black background. Now that's pretty straightforward. Media, photos, backgrounds, pick black, add it onto your timeline, then go layer, media, photos, go and pick your photo for your background. In my case, finding my online biz, select it, add that to the timeline. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The last piece that we want to add in for this particular asset that we're creating, go here, we go to photo and we go all again. Okay, so now I go and I find the photo that we just created and downloaded using Doodle Pro, which is here. As you can see, I've added that in now. I'm going to say OK to that. Or not. Sorry, I must have done something wrong. Let me try that again. Media, photo, add it in. There it is. Okay, so I'm just going to make that big enough to cover the whole page, and all I will do now is I'll go up to the three little dots in the top left and I'll say send back. Boom, boom. Now you can see it's now got a coloured background where the fill would have been normally. Now the reason I've done it this way is that I wanted to keep both of those assets separate, so that I can now put movement on that highlighted, you can see the highlighted image. Now if I go in Kinemaster and say overall animation, like so, I can select several different types of ways to make this animate this particular image. Now my two favourites are fountain and ring. They're my favourites. So in fountain, there you go. Straight away we can see that it's moving. All right. Now I would suggest making this longer so that it goes for longer. Make it just short of the end, and then say OK to the fountain. Go back to this, and we'll put an out animation of fade. Okay to that. Now I suggest that you make these a little longer, because you can always cut them later. Now you'll understand why this is in just a moment. One of the glitches I've found with Kinemaster is I don't have any way to slow that animation down. That animation is going quite fast, But so what we're going to do is render out this image, and then we're going to re-render it and slow the video down. Okay, and I'll show you that in just a second. Let's have a look at it. You can see it looks quite good, but it's moving quite fast. If you've got epilepsy or something like that, don't watch it too much. So yeah, it's going quite quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to render that out. I'm just going to have a look how long, about 15 seconds, that's plenty. And all I'm going to do is render that out like so. I'm going to just do it at 1080p, 30 frames per second. I'm going to export that. And you can see that what we do in these things is that we generate each asset and we build each asset up. Done. Now I can go back to Kinemaster. What I can do now is I can simply remove these two. I don't need them now for the moment, for this next piece. Okay, once I come back, I get rid of those, I add it back into the timeline of the video. Get rid of that. It needs to be on the video timeline. Okay, that's the trick. Now what I can do is I can change the speed. So what I can do now is I can make that say 0.5. Change that. Now let's have a look at how that runs. That looks better. Bit slower. That looks good. Now you'll notice that what happened, because I've slowed it down, it actually takes longer to go through. So it's now 31 seconds. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm actually going to halve it. I'm going to go back to about 15 seconds. Find it here, 15 seconds. I want to be able to cut it later on. And then I'm simply going to select it here. I'm going to split on the playhead, and I'm going to delete that last half. We now have a text motion graphic for our video. Now we do need to render this one out as well. So we're just going to render that one out as well. Have a go at it yourself and see how you go. See what you can come up with some creative backgrounds. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's the end of part 1. And next time we'll do part 2, which will be all about creating particle graphics. That's coming up next. I'll see you next week. Enjoy the journey, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye.